My beloved child, there are mornings when you wake and think you are merely stepping into a very familiar day, as though time has simply opened another ordinary blank page. You hear the sounds of the streets, see the hurried flow of people, see doors opening, vehicles rolling forward, faces passing across your life for only a few brief seconds, and then you imagine that all of it is only the natural rhythm of the world. But, my child, I see deeper than what your eyes behold, wider than what your mind recognizes. Where you call it a road, I see the turnings of choice. Where you call it a chance encounter, I see a seed being sown. Where you call it a passing thought, I see a door that may open either to peace or to unrest. There is not a single moment in your life that is empty before me, for every pulse of your living carries meaning, and every step you take has an echo in the spiritual realm that you do not always perceive. At times you think you are only choosing a reply, an attitude, a glance, a silence. But within those small things, the inner direction of your soul is being formed. A gentle word can keep you near the light. A bitter thought can draw you toward darkness. A moment when you pause to be patient can become an anchor that keeps you from the wave of anger. One time of surrendering yourself to comparison can weary your heart like a wanderer lost in the desert with no shade in sight. I do not tell you this so that you may tremble before life, but so that you may remain awake within grace. You are not a small one swept away in a nameless crowd. You are the child I preserve, the one I am leading through movements that ordinary eyes only call random. If your life were not precious, there would be nothing contending for your attention, your faith, and your peace. It is precisely because you have value that each day of yours becomes a place where light and darkness seek to touch you. Remember, there are battles that make no sound of swords, have no smoke of war in the fields, and no one standing before you declaring hostility. Yet they unfold quietly within every emotion, every choice, and everything you allow to occupy your mind. When you enter a conversation, you are not speaking only with words, you are releasing what has been nourished within you. When you pass through a delay, you are not merely waiting. You are learning whether you lean on me or yield to irritation. When you meet someone who wounds you, you are not merely standing before a person. You are standing before an opportunity to choose mercy instead of holding sharp thorns within. My child, a day is not merely a sequence of tasks to complete, but a silent altar where you offer to me the way you see, the way you hear, the way you respond, and the way you stand firm when your heart wants to sway. Therefore, I want you to learn to look upon your mornings with new eyes. Do not hear the sound of the alarm only as a demand. See it as a gentle call, reminding you that grace has still opened another day for you. Do not see the crowded road only as a place that tires you. Recognize it as a place where you can carry peace through the midst of hurried hearts. Do not think of the phone in your hand only as a tool of communication. Know that it can also become a window leading you toward wisdom, or a net pulling you into distraction. You do not need to flee the world in order to belong to me. You need to walk in the world with a heart that has been kept by me. I do not call you to hide in silence and fear every sound. I call you to become light right in the midst of much noise. Long ago, when Elisha's servant woke and saw the enemy army surrounding the city, his heart was terrified because he could only see what stood before his eyes. But when I opened his sight, he realized that around them there was not only danger, but a protection far greater than he had imagined. That story was not placed in history merely so you might marvel at a distant age, but so that you may understand that your eyes often see only the outer layer of events. You may see pressure, but I see support coming. You may see yourself alone amid the demands of the day, but I see my arms covering you. You may see a criticism, a delay, an anxiety, but I see an opportunity for you to be refined, softened, and brought closer to me. Do not quickly conclude that what you see is the whole truth. Behind the mist of ordinary life, I am still at work. My child, what I desire from you is not the tension of always suspecting everything, but the gentle watchfulness of one who knows they are loved and led. Watchfulness does not make you rigid. Watchfulness makes you more tender to my voice. Watchfulness does not make you fearful. It helps you recognize where you must refrain, which word must be held back, which thought must be given to me before it grows into a burden. When a thought of self-condemnation comes near you, do not hastily believe it as the final voice. When comparison whispers that you are lesser, do not let it place a throne in your heart. When worry tries to lead you ahead of today's grace, stop and remember that I do not give you the whole road for you to carry by yourself. I give you enough light to take the next step in trust. There will be times when you walk through the streets and no one knows that within you, a beautiful battle has just been won. You did not answer with bitterness. You did not let your heart sink into envy. You did not feed a painful memory like a hidden ember. The world may not see that victory, but I see it. No one may praise you for choosing peace in a day full of friction, but I acknowledge your hidden faithfulness. Do not despise small victories, for many little stones make a steady path. Do not despise the times when you return to me in silence, for it is those very returns that forge in you a strength that is not loud, but deep and enduring. And when you stumble, when you allow a dark thought to pull you away, when you speak a word that makes your own heart grow heavy, do not hide from me as though I were only waiting to punish you. I am your Father, the one who knows the dust of the road clinging to your feet and still bends down to wash it away with love. Return the moment you realize you have gone off course. Do not let shame turn a slip into a journey of distance. I do not require you to be perfect before you come to me. I call you to come to me so that you may be rebuilt, renewed, and set again upon the upright path. Each time you return, the light gains more room within you. My beloved child, there are places you once thought that, if you were brought there, you would no longer have enough strength to stand. There are circumstances you once called the very edge of your endurance, where breath became heavy, courage trembled like a small lamp before the wind, and everything you once firmly believed suddenly felt far away. But, my child, precisely at the boundary where you thought everything would end, I open a deeper encounter. You once feared the fire, feared seasons of testing, feared the roar of the unknown, feared that you would vanish when the pressure became greater than your ability. Yet you did not understand that fire has no right to decide your destiny while I am still with you. What you call the end is only the place where the thin veil of your understanding is lifted, so that you may recognize that I do not only stand ahead of you, calling you forward, but I also stand in the hottest place itself, welcoming you into my protection. Not every fire comes to destroy. My child, there is fire that only burns away the layer of fear that has clung to you for too long. There is fire that melts the invisible chains that once made you walk timidly. There is fire that reveals the pure gold you yourself never knew I had placed within you. You often ask me to take you out of uncomfortable places, but sometimes I step into them with you because I want you to learn something greater than escape from circumstance, the peace that does not depend on circumstance. If I always removed everything that made you tremble, you would only know me as the rescuer from danger. But when I remain with you in the burning heat of trial, you will know me as refuge, shade, and the quiet strength flowing into every weary part of you. Long ago, 3 young men were thrown into the furnace because they refused to bow before what opposed pure worship. Those standing outside saw only the blazing furnace, heard only the roar of worldly power, and imagined that their fate had been sealed in a painful ending. But when people looked again, they no longer saw 3 lonely men in the fire, but another presence walking with them in the very place that should have consumed all hope. The fire still burned, but it could not rule over them. The heat still surrounded them, but it could not swallow them. What the world built to destroy became the place proving that my hand can preserve you even within the very thing you fear most. That story does not belong only to ancient days. My child, it speaks to you today, telling you that there are furnaces I do not immediately extinguish, because I want you to see that you are never left alone inside them. So when you stand before something that makes your heart sink, do not hastily call it a sign of failure. When you pass through a season of exhaustion, do not quickly think that I have turned my face away. When you find yourself without enough words to pray, do not imagine that such silence is an empty space without me. There are times when I come to you not with a great sound, but with quiet support that helps you breathe one more breath, take one more step, endure one more day, and still not lose the gentleness within your heart. You may not see a radiant miracle immediately, but the fact that you are still standing, still turning toward me, still longing for what is good amid pain, is already a sign that grace is working within you more deeply than you understand. Keep walking, my beloved child, but do not walk like someone who must prove their strength before every gaze. I do not need you to wear a hard appearance to conceal the trembling within, nor do I require you to be unafraid in order to be called courageous. Courage in my eyes is not a heart that has never trembled, but a heart that still places itself in my hand, even while trembling. When you speak honestly to me and say you are tired, I do not despise you. I bend closer. When you admit that you do not know how to continue, I do not blame you for weakness. I open a way in the haze. When you no longer have the strength to lift yourself up, I become the arm that raises you. Truth does not make you ashamed before me. Truth is the doorway through which my love enters to heal you. You once thought that a person shaped by me must be like iron and stone, unmoved, untouched by pain, needing no one to uphold them. But I tell you that those I use are often not formed through hardness, but through a tender heart that knows how to surrender. A soft heart in my hand is stronger than toughness without love. A heart that knows how to weep before me in secret can stand firm before the strong winds of life. A heart that knows how to return after falling will mature more than one who only hides their wounds beneath a layer of pride. Do not fear your tenderness, for when it is placed in my hand, it is not weakness, it is fertile ground where grace can rise. There are fires ahead that will teach you to distinguish the temporary from the enduring. Praise may fly away, but the truth I place within you remains. Opposition may wound you, but it cannot define you if you stand in my love. Losses may take from your hands a few familiar things, but they cannot take you out of my hand. Remember, what keeps you is not your ability to control everything, but my faithfulness above all that you cannot control. The future may confuse you, but the future does not surprise me. Tomorrow may still hide many turnings, but no road lies outside my sight where you have not yet arrived. I already know what you have not yet faced. I have already prepared grace for the stretch of road you do not yet understand. I have already marked with my care. Therefore, from today onward, when you see fire, do not immediately shrink back as though you have been sentenced to fail. Breathe slowly in my presence. Remember the times you thought you would not make it through, and yet I carried you through in gentle and wondrous ways. Remember the nights you thought darkness would last forever, but then morning still came, quietly and faithfully. Remember the times you thought you had lost everything, and afterward I taught you to recognize the more precious things that had never been lost. The memory of my support will become a stone beneath your feet, so that each step today will no longer be guided by panic, but by faith refined through tears. You do not need to run from every trial in order to have peace. You need to recognize that I am walking with you in every trial. You do not need to know all the answers before you step forward. You only need to hold the hand that never lets you go. You do not need to become someone who is never weak. You need to let your weariness become the place where my power rests. When you walk with me, fire may flare around you, but it does not have the final word. Pressure may draw near, but it cannot possess you. Fear may whisper, but it is not your master. I am the one who calls your name, preserves you, and leads you out of every burning season with a deeper beauty. So keep walking, my beloved child, not with the self-satisfaction of one who thinks they are strong enough alone, but with the peace of one who knows they are held. Walk through today with gentle faith, through tomorrow with bright hope, through every furnace with the understanding that I was there before you. No heat is greater than my love. No trial reaches beyond my arms. No future leaves me bewildered. And when my hand is covering you, what once frightened you will no longer be the place of ending, but the place where you discover a mysterious truth. In the fire, you are not consumed. In the fire, you are preserved. In the fire, you learn how near I truly am to you. My beloved child, what exhausts you most is not always the burdens other people can see, but the things you have quietly hidden for too long behind your calm appearance. There are smiles you wear on your lips not because your heart is light, but because you have learned how to shield yourself so no one will ask more. There are words like, "I am fine," that you say very quickly, as though if those words flow smoothly enough, people will pass by without noticing that deep within you, something is still trembling. But, my child, I do not only see the part of you that you show the world, I also see the inner room you have locked shut, where old memories still lie beneath layers of dust, where unspoken words remain caught like tiny thorns, where long nights have found you gathering yourself together just to keep living as though nothing had happened. You may hide from the world. You may hide even from those closest to you. But you do not need to hide from me, because I see without despising. I know fully without turning away. And I draw near not to expose you before anyone's gaze, but to touch the place you have been afraid to have touched. Sometimes you have thought that silence was the safest way. You believed that if you did not mention it again, the pain would fade on its own if you did not cry. The wound would dry if you did not look directly at it. That memory would lose its power. But, my child, what is pushed down deeply without being healed does not disappear. It only changes the way it speaks. It may come out as a weariness with no clear cause, as a sudden coldness when someone comes too close, as unease in the middle of a day that seems ordinary, as the habit of defending yourself even against sincere love. It may make it hard for you to trust others, hard to receive good things, hard to remain still in peace, because within you there is still a part always waiting for disaster to return. I do not say this so that you will blame yourself, but so that you will understand that your reactions are not always weakness. Often they are the cry of places that have not yet been anointed for healing. Therefore, do not treat the truth about your pain as something shameful. Before me, honesty is not failure. It is the doorway to restoration. When you say, "I am hurting," I do not command you to become stronger immediately. When you admit, "I am still afraid," I do not accuse you of lacking faith. When you confess, "I do not know why I keep pulling away," I do not leave you because you are still tangled. I am your Father, And a merciful Father does not stand outside the door demanding that the room be clean before entering. I enter that very disorder with gentle light, to gather each broken piece with you, untie each knot, and open each door that fear has shut. You do not need to make everything perfect before coming to me. You only need to let me enter the place where you have grown weary from guarding everything alone. Long ago, there was a woman who suffered for many years, carrying within her an affliction that left her both exhausted and separated from the community. She had tried many ways, spent much, yet the pain clung to her like a shadow that refused to leave. When she heard that Jesus was passing by, she did not have a long speech, nor did she stand in the crowd to recount all her suffering. She simply drew near in silence and touched the hem of his garment with the little hope she still had left. And in that moment, what had continued secretly for many years was touched by gentle power. But the wonder was not only that her body was restored. The deeper miracle was that he called her out of hiding, not to shame her, but to return dignity, peace, and a confirmation that she no longer had to live as one forgotten. Do you see? My child, I do not force you to expose your pain before the crowd, but I invite you to bring it near to me. Because only in me can what you have hidden be named in love and not in condemnation. Some of the things you have covered over have begun to affect the way you love, the way you trust, and the way you receive kindness. You do not understand why you step back when someone truly wants to come close. You do not understand why one small sentence can make your heart tighten as though it has been pulled back into an old day. You do not understand why you often sabotage good things just as they begin to bloom, then sit alone, wondering whether you are unworthy. My child, many times it is not because you do not value what is good, but because unhealed pain has taught you to doubt even blessings. It tells you that good things will not last, that anyone who loves you will eventually leave, that opening your heart is dangerous, that today's joy is only a sign before tomorrow's loss. But I come to untangle those lies from within you, thread by thread, with truth full of mercy. My healing is often not as loud as you expect. It may begin with a morning when you wake and find yourself a little less afraid. It may come when you dare to speak honestly with someone trustworthy instead of continuing to smile it away. It may appear in the moment you realize you are reacting from an old wound. Then pause to breathe, to ask for wisdom, and to stop giving the past authority over the present. It may also come through tears you no longer force yourself to swallow, because you understand that crying before me does not make you weaker. Tears in my hand can become a stream, washing away the layers of sorrow that have covered your joy for too long. And, my child, I want you to know that you do not need to explain everything perfectly in order to be loved. There are pains you have not yet named correctly, and still I understand. There are cracks you do not yet have the courage to open, and still I wait patiently. There are nights when you can only sit still and cannot say anything, and still I hear your sigh as a prayer. I am not in a hurry with you. I do not use a rough hand to open the places you have locked because of fear. I knock gently. I wait. I comfort. I place peace into every small crevice, until you realize that with me, you do not need to perform the role of one who is always all right. My beloved child, there are movements above that your eyes cannot see. Yet your life is being touched by those very movements. You often think that the sky above you is only silent, that the passing of days is merely the continuation of time, that everything coming and going in your life depends only on circumstances, on people, and on earthly doors. But I want you to listen with deeper watchfulness. The realm that belongs to me is not standing still in emptiness. There is order there. There are commands. There are things being arranged at the right hour, in the right season. in the right place. The things you have not yet seen do not mean they are not in motion. The things that have not yet reached your hand do not mean I have not prepared them. There are doors that do not open according to your impatience, nor close according to the hasty conclusions of the world. They turn according to the rhythm I have appointed. And when the time comes, no force can hold them still. My child, the gate of heaven is not a distant symbol for you to gaze at and then continue living as before. That gate speaks of my intervention, of the flow from the high place to where you stand, of the moment when I redirect what seemed impossible. There are seasons when that gate opens like a covering, so you may be protected from things you are not wise enough to recognize. There are seasons when that gate leans toward instruction, so you may be shaped through delays and roads that are not easy to understand. And there are seasons when that gate turns toward release, so that what I have held in the treasury of timing may be poured upon your life. You do not need to measure that opening by your emotions today, for your emotions are sometimes bright like dawn and sometimes dim like evening mist. But my schedule does not waver like the human heart. What I have appointed for you is not a race just because you have days of weakness. I know you have walked through many stretches of road that you thought were wasted. There were days when you asked yourself why you had to keep waiting, why you prayed and still did not see the answer, why you tried and yet still felt as though you were walking through a long hallway with no door in sight. You thought you were merely enduring, merely holding on, merely dragging each step through a dry season. But, my child, in my eyes, those days were not meaningless. Soil that must support a great house has to be pressed down in silence. Roots that must hold a tall tree have to go deep before branches can spread wide. You want to receive a great flow from me, but if your inner foundation has not been strengthened, what arrives too early may cause you to sway. Therefore, I used even the silent days to repair the foundation, even the waiting to enlarge your capacity, even what seemed like delay to prepare you for what you could not yet bear if it came too soon. Long ago, Jacob lay down in a place that seemed to be merely a stopping point on a weary journey. To human eyes, it was only a night in the wilderness, a stone for a pillow, a man leaving the past and not yet knowing what the future would hold, but precisely in a place no one thought was holy. I showed him a passage between earth and heaven, where messengers ascended and descended within a mysterious order. Look carefully at this, for I do not reveal myself only in radiant palaces, nor do I speak only in moments when you feel worthy, nor do I open doors only when everything has become perfect. I can turn the place you thought was temporary into an altar. Turn the night you thought was only for enduring into a place of revelation, and turn the cold stone beneath your head into a marker of promise. What you call a stopping point may be the very place where I am marking a new beginning. Therefore, when I say the gate of heaven is shifting, I do not say it to awaken curiosity in you, but to awaken readiness. Every opening from me carries an invitation. I do not bless you merely so your heart may feel lighter. I bless you so that you may step into the right position. I do not move the gate merely so you may see something strange. I move the gate so you will stop standing in the old place with the old way of seeing, and stop calling yourself by the small names your past placed upon you. There are things you have asked me to change around you, but before they change, I am changing your inner stance. I lead you out of the place of complaint into the place of trust. I call you to leave the corner of fear and stand upon the ground of obedience. I draw you away from the habit of looking only at lack, so you may learn to look upward and recognize that my provision has never run dry. My beloved child, do not be surprised if in this season old doors begin to feel too narrow. Familiar paths no longer bring peace, and concerns that once held you back suddenly lose their power over you. When the gate of heaven turns, things on earth will also be arranged anew. Some people will no longer walk with you as before, not because I reject them, but because a new journey requires a new rhythm of steps. Some opportunities that seemed closed may be mentioned again in another way. Not so that you return to the old self, but so that you may enter them with new maturity. Some promises you thought had fallen asleep will be awakened by me, not with noise, but with small yet clear signs, with deep peace, with timely encounters, and with openings you could not have created by yourself. But listen to my instruction when the gate opens. Do not let haste make you run ahead of my leading. A blessing that comes from me does not require you to seize it out of fear. What I give does not force you to lose purity in order to keep it. If a door truly belongs to me, it will not require you to betray the truth. It will not make you exchange holy peace, and it will not draw you away from the calling I have placed within you. Walk slowly in watchfulness. Let me teach you to distinguish between a shining opportunity and an anointed path. There are things that attract your eyes but do not nourish your inner being. There are invitations that sound great but pull you away from where I want you to stand. When the gate of heaven shifts, you need a quieter heart, not a louder one, ears that know how to listen, not hands that rush to grasp everything. I also know there are times when you fear you have missed what I had for you. You look back at old choices, moments of hesitation, times of weakness, and wonder whether the door has passed forever. My child, do not see my power as smaller than your mistakes. I can restore what has been broken, open another path where you only see a dead end, and use even the years you regret to teach you greater wisdom. I am not trapped in time as you are. I am the one who can call a new season to rise even upon land that once seemed barren. What I need from you is not self-condemnation, but return, not the cry that it is too late, but the willing heart that says, lead me from here. So, today, lift your head, but do not lift it in pride, lift it in hope. Look at your life with the faith that above what you can see, I am still arranging what you cannot yet touch. Prepare your heart like one preparing a house to receive a holy guest. Clear away bitterness. Lay down suspicion. Open the door to obedience. And light the lamp of gratitude. The gate of heaven is not shifting so that you can stand watching from afar. It is shifting to call you into my flow with humility, courage, and purity. What is coming is not only to make you joyful for a moment, but to bring you closer to the purpose I quietly planted in your life before you knew how to name yourself. Therefore, my beloved child, do not see today as an ordinary day without significance. On earth, everything may still look the same: the familiar room, the familiar road, the familiar tasks, the familiar questions, but above, the gate is turning according to my rhythm. The flow is changing direction. The promise is finding its way to the right season. Protection has kept you through the former months and days, and release is being prepared for the new stretch of road. Stand in the place where I call you to stand. Keep your heart pure before the blessing pours down. Step out of the old place when I open a new way, for I have not forgotten you. I am not delayed because of helplessness, and I am not silent because of distance. I am moving, arranging, and opening, and when the gate of heaven inclines toward your life, what I give will arrive at the right hour, in the right way, bearing a mark no one can counterfeit.